Welcome, cuties. Let's create. Okay, so today, as I am going to be going through Pinterest and looking for some ideas as I draw a New Year's outfit, I'm going to talk a little bit about my channel and what I'm going to do, how often will I update, and just some questions you may have as you're starting out by watching this channel. So my first question is, what will I do on my channel? And basically anything creative. Mostly probably drawing, because I really love to draw and I want to get better at it. And the more you do it, the better you get. So that is my goal, is to mostly draw, but I am not limiting myself to drawing and coloring. I want to be able to do other things like, make things out of polymer clay, maybe do wood burning eventually, just general crafty things. And the next question I want to answer is, why did I name my channel The Cuter Things? And for a couple years, actually, I've always wanted to start a business, and I just love to create, and I love to craft, and I love to draw, and I didn't want to really, I guess I didn't have a niche, I think is how they pronounce it. I'm not very good at my English, even though I'm from the US, but anyway, so I didn't really have a specific thing that I loved. I didn't like just making wreaths or just making things by crocheting or just drawing. I wanted to do all of it, and I wanted to stretch myself. And so the name that I came up with years ago was The Cuter Things in Life. And then I decided to just shorten it and easier to find by just saying The Cuter Things. So what I do on my channel is I create just the cuter things in life, except it's just the cuter things. So, excuse me. So that's kind of what I'm going to do on my channel, why this is called my channel, And the next question I want to answer will be, how often will I update? I'm going to do weekly, and I'm hoping to stick with it as doing every Wednesday. It's a good breakup in the middle of the week. You go through your week, and it also gives me a chance to film videos, record, edit, blah, 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 blah. So all that. And so that's my goal, is to update. I'm not sure on a certain time. It will just be on a Wednesday. So, make sure you subscribe, click the bell, and just stay tuned, because it will just be every Wednesday. I'm not sure, again, what time. Places to follow me on social media. I haven't been very good at doing Instagram, but you can find me on Instagram. I will have a link in the description. I also will have a link to my Pinterest, and I also created a website. And so you will be able to find those things down below where you can follow me, and I will post there. And on Instagram, I'm hoping to do something where the day before I'll kind of remind everyone by posting and saying, hey, there's going to be a video tomorrow, and I will also include the supplies that I will be using. So I'll be like, hey, grab a pencil and crayons, or maybe it will be like, hey, I'm using polymer clay this week, or maybe it's like, make sure you grab your yarn, or, whatever it may be. I will be posting the day before, or maybe just in my story, to let you know if you want to follow along. And it's not going to be necessarily tutorials. It's just you can listen while you're drawing, or listen while you're doing something crafty, but you're more than welcome to follow along. I will be just kind of talking about my process as I go. And why did I start this channel? So the main thing of why I started this channel was I just love being creative, and I never really had a specific thing that, I don't know. I have worked in schools before as a teacher's aide, and I have done other things, but I've always wanted to just find a creative plug, an outlet. And this gave me a way to be creative and to share my process with others. So that is why I decided to do this. And my wonderful husband gave me a lot of support and told me to do it. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. And I am not very good. I'm still learning how to edit videos and add in the sound and do everything. And it's still also new to me, so it may not be very good. But I will be constantly learning and hopefully growing, and things will get better as I continue. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. And hopefully, you enjoy, having a place where you can come and just listen or follow along, or whatever you feel comfortable doing. So that's kind of more about my channel. If you have any questions about me or more questions, please leave questions in the comments, and I will maybe do a future video answering those questions. So I'm going to talk about my process of drawing. So on the back of the paper, if you noticed before, I wrote down some things that really stood out to me looking on Pinterest with New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, the parties and stuff like that. So I went ahead and did a thumbnail on the back of my paper, which is just a little drawing saying this is what I'm liking, and just excuse my kitty as she's in the way. But so I kind of had a basic idea of what I wanted it to look like and stuff like that. And then I turned it over and I started drawing and I started sketching what I wanted my person to look like. I'm not super good at drawing hands, so that's one thing. Hopefully over time I will get better at drawing hands. They're just so difficult to me. I just can't. I struggle, and I always have. But I wanted to give her like a top hat because it reminded me of like the little plastic ones that you can get at like Walmart or, wherever. And so I wanted to do that and just kind of incorporate little things that I've seen. Her dress kind of reminded me of like an upside down champagne glass. I will be coloring it and posting it to Instagram, and even, maybe even Pinterest. But that's why she kind of has this tube dress that's like that. And I wanted to incorporate balloons because if you noticed earlier when I was on Pinterest, there was like an archway kind of thing of balloons, and I really liked that. But it didn't have like the same balloons, but yeah. And I wanted her happy and smiling because, it's always just a joyous time, to around the holidays. I don't know what else to say. I was thinking about her hair. I was like, okay, because I don't know why. Probably because I have long hair. I'm always drawn towards longer hair. But in this, I actually kept being drawn towards short hair. And I guess that's kind of the thing, because everyone's saying that this is going to be the Roaring 20s, which is like the 1920s, and it was the flappers, and they had the short finger wave and stuff like that. So maybe that's why I did it. In my sketch, I did draw bubbles on the dress because I wanted it to look like a champagne, but then eventually I end up erasing it because when I color it, I don't want you to see the pencil marks, so that's why. For my supplies today, I am just using a pencil that I got off Wish. It was just a couple of dollars, and then I'm using a stick that has, I can't think of the name, eraser. There we go. Just using a stick that has an eraser I got in, before school starts, they have those like supply kits of like everything you could use at school, and that was in there. So I mean, it's not expensive things, just cheap. I'm using cardstock. I cut it in half, just that I got at Walmart. Nothing expensive. That's the thing with a drawing, is starting out or even down the road, you don't have to have expensive supplies. It can be cheap, and it'll be fine. You don't need to, you can see a difference between, using better paint supplies or, things like that. But when it comes to just using a pencil, you can really use any pencil you want. You don't have to go out and get, a $50 pencil. They may write nicer, or they may go smoother on the paper, but starting out, it works and it's great. So anyway, there's my tangent on supplies. So right now what I'm doing is I wanted it to kind of look like a Polaroid. And Polaroids, if you've ever seen one, they're thick on bottom, then have a thin trim around the other edges. And I wanted it to be straight, so I got out my ruler and made sure that it was straight. And I'm not gonna lie, I was filming this on my brother's iPad instead of my phone, which I normally film on, because my phone was out of room. And so that's why it's kind of a weird angle. So I was kind of struggling to make sure that, my arm or my hand wouldn't get in the way, so you'd be able to see it okay. Normally it will probably be up above the camera, but it worked for this time. So once I did a sketch of everything, I went through and I darkened up the lines that I did like. So that way when I go in with a fine liner and I just use a Sharpie pen, when I go in with that, I'll be able to see the lines that I really liked, and I won't get distracted by the other sketchy lines, which sometimes I do keep that there because, if you want the sketchy look, you can keep them there. But in this, I did not want the sketchy lines. So I went ahead and darkened up the lines that I liked, so that way I wouldn't be distracted by the other ones, and I'd be able to see, oh, I really liked this line or whatever. So, and I noticed in her hat, I was like, oh, I remembered I really liked disco balls. So I added a little circle that will eventually look like a disco ball with feathers, and the feathers don't turn out very good. Here I'm using a kneaded eraser. They're really nice because they don't pick up all the lead, if you notice, but they pick up all the dark, heavy lines. So that way you still see a light sketch. Oh, right here I actually am not using a Sharpie pen, but normally I am. But anyway, it's nice because you can erase without having it take away the whole sketch, so you can still see most of your sketch, and then outline it with your fine liner or whatever you may have. So that is why I use a kneaded eraser, because it doesn't pick up all the lead, but it picks up most of it, which is really nice. It's actually fun to watch my creative process over again. To kind of see, because when I'm in the moment, I'm just doing it. And this time I filmed it and then recorded later because my husband gave me a microphone for Christmas. And so I actually filmed this before Christmas, so that way I would be able to have time to edit and then put in audio later. But I do want to eventually have it where it's real time, where I'm sketching and talking at the same time, so you kind of hear my thinking process and what I'm going through, because honestly I can't remember. I remember that I didn't really like how I did her eyes because it was kind of difficult, because I didn't want just a little thin line, I made it want kind of thicker because our eyes are kind of big, so I wanted you to be able to see that. Another thing that I have a hard time with fine lining is sometimes it bothers me when lines are kind of like, they're not smooth. I don't mind it on other people's, but on my sketches, I'm not a fan. And then I forgot her eyebrows. That's one thing I always forget is eyebrows, because I go, oh, her face looks kind of like it's missing something. And it's normally the eyebrows. So that's my process. And again, I will be posting every week and kind of giving my process every time, just kind of talking, maybe ranting about who knows what. And I actually really enjoyed this. I like the way it turned out. So this actually, okay, I apparently get very distracted watching my own videos. But I'm going to have to look up and see what eraser it is, but it's a different kind of eraser. As you can tell, it gives eraser shavings everywhere, but I like it because it's meant to pick up all pencil and all lead. So I like to use it at the very end because it picks up everything after I'm done fine lining it and makes it more clean and smooth, so that way when I go in and I color it, you won't be able to see any of the pencil, which you don't want to see those lines. So it's kind of nice because I really like that eraser. And then I decided at the bottom I would write Happy New Year's in fancy calligraphy, but it's fake because I end up just going